Yo, come inside of me. I'm Tony. Let's collectively come. I want to do a little bit of talkie to you. I want to, sometimes I forget that I'm filming this as well to put on YouTube, which I have not been consistent about. And I did just actively scratch my crotch. So I'm wondering completely if the viewers could see, like how I framed the shot. I don't even know. So I potentially started off this podcast with a little crotch scratch. Not sure why I did that. I think it's like you do it out of nervousness sometimes. Not that I even particularly am nervous because I am alone. I'm alone in a room just talking to myself. But I think sometimes we just like randomly scratch ourselves out of confusion. Today is Monday. It's Ask Me Anything Monday. Ask me anything. I wanted to talk about emotional labor today. I promised you we talk about emotional labor today, so we're going to. Also, someone did write me a question that I want to take some time with because it was a detailed question and I didn't want to just skitter scatter over it. All right, but let's talk about emotional labor first. Wait, is there anything I should be saying at the top of the pod? I think Jeffrey Epstein is alive. I just feel like every once in a while I should remind people that I think that. I don't think he was murdered or killed himself. I think he's just alive. I think he has a new face. They just gave him a new face, maybe a different, jawline or something. And I think he's just like doing more pedo on another island. Why they don't even have to murder him? Why would they murder him? They don't need to. It is something that I've been talking about a lot, and I will probably continue to talk about it. Have you listened to the other podcasts? That's a great question. Are you listening to the other pods? I do some deep digging, raw dogging. Get in there, listen to the other ones. Oh, also, will you share it? Will you rate it? Will you review it? Will you do all those things you're supposed to do? The constant humiliation of having to ask y'all to do these things you're supposed to do. I have a lot of necklaces on and they are all choking me. But I felt like I needed like multiple protections of different stones around my neck because of my throat chakra. And am I under energetic assault? Probably. I have gone swimming today, which was really nice. I'm trying to like have a summer as well as recognize genocide and also ice raids and work. So, how are y'all balancing that out? Okay. Oh, someone told me you can't even hear my coffee while I'm sipping it. And here I was thinking I was doing ASMR torture this whole time. And turns out you couldn't even fucking hear it. That's really funny, the level of self-consciousness I felt. What can't you hear on this mic? Like, could you hear the initial top of the pod crotch scratch? Probably not. And that's a bummer for you. That should be a special like ASMR thing that I sell on the internet, just like crotch scratching. Would people buy that? Also, would you buy my queef? If some chick on the internet can sell her farts for like $500,000 a year, you're telling me I can't sell my queefs? Hello. I would sell them in a burlap sack too, because I want to be eco and sustainable. Can I queef on command? Absolutely not. But would it be a skill I learned if the demand was high enough? Absolutely. I mean, I think we've talked a lot about capitalism and supply and demand on this pod. So, yeah. All right. I wanted to talk about emotional labor today. Why? Because I think a lot of people don't understand what it fucking is. And I think it's important to understand what it is. So, if you have a partner that doesn't understand what emotional labor is and you try to explain it to them and they're like, "What? I don't get it." Maybe send them this pod. Send them this pod on emotional labor. Oh, what? Then I wanted to answer someone else's question. We'll see how much time passes. Time is an illusion, and yet I must be aware of time. All right, emotional labor. What is it? Because, all right, when you're in a partnership, I think there's been a lot of conversation around the invisible labor, right? So invisible labor would be something like the dishes or the laundry or the trash or the sweeping or who does the toilets. I mean, obviously I have like a major clean fetish, Cleaning is a big part of my existence and my life. Um, so I just mentioned a lot of cleaning things, but there's other things that are invisible labor. Who's waking up with children if you have children, or who's giving children rides places? Who is sacrificing their time for the betterment of the family? That to me feels like a lot of invisible labor, right? You're sacrificing time. You could be doing other shit in order to do things to make the family function more sustainably. And a family can be a family of two, mind you. You don't have to have a kid to be a family with someone. If you're living with someone for multiple years, that's some family vibes. So there is the invisible labor of sacrificing your time that you're not getting paid for at all in order to keep a nice home, to be a good partner. Let's talk about it. This is some advice I have about this, and then I want to get into the emotional labor because I think they're connected, but they're different. So, and I think sometimes people put them in the same pot of soup, and then it gets even more confusing. So let's first talk about the invisible labor. This is my advice. When you live with someone and you are doing a lot of invisible labor, or you have maybe a flow chart where you're dividing invisible labor, but you don't feel honored or respected or appreciated, I think it's very important to outright text your partner, no matter what time it is, and say, hey, babe, I unloaded the dishwasher. Because everyone knows the horror of unloading a dishwasher. Are you fucking kidding me? Who wants to unload a dishwasher? First of all, in every couple, by the way, someone does load the dishwasher like a raccoon on methamphetamines, okay? Someone is always loading the dishwasher as if they have no spatial awareness at all. And then there's those that load the dishwasher like a Swedish architect, the right way. I load the dishwasher the correct way, okay? And I'm sure in every marriage, partnership, whatever, this is a discussion if you have a dishwasher. And you have to respect the raccoon in your partner. And if they're gonna load the dishwasher incompletely and wrong, just like wrong, they just load it wrong, you don't have to tell them. Just let them load it wrong. Just live life on the edge, have it be wrong. Because guess what? It's going to be loaded again by you the correct way. But don't always get on someone for not doing it right, even though they are wrong. Just let them be wrong. Let them be wrong. So what I'm trying to say is when you do an invisible labor task, you just can text your partner, hey, guess what I did? I swept. I vacuumed. I did this annoying thing. I filled your car with gas. And then the other person will say, oh my goddess, thank you. I'm so grateful to you. I really appreciate it. You ask for gratitude. You can't just expect a motherfucker to just notice everything all the goddamn time. That's not happening. No, we can't expect that of each other. That is white supremacy. Absolutely not. No, we are dealing with a lot, and we must be told when someone is doing invisible labor, and then you just blatantly ask, hey, I did this thing. Are you grateful? And the other person will say, of course I'm grateful. That's number one. That is number one piece of advice. Number two is that if you have a lot of resentment in your relationship, this invisible labor, you're gonna have a lot of standoffs, right? If you resent your partner, and there is a dirty dish in the sink and you just resent your partner, you're gonna be like, well, they can do the dirty dish. And then they're gonna see the dirty dish and they're gonna resent you, and they're gonna say, well, they can do the dirty dish. And then the dirty dish is just staying there until one of you acquiesces, usually in resentment. The way you can tell if you don't resent your partner is if you see some bullshit in the sink and it's 11:30 at night and your partner is asleep on the couch, okay? Your partner's sleeping on the couch, their mouth is open. They look like Sloth from the Goonies, okay? They're not looking their best. Their mouth is open. They're breathing from their mouths like a dork. They're not even breathing from their nostrils, okay? They're just mouth breathing on the couch, stomach out, legs just in a position that is not sexually attractive. If you can look at your mouth breathing partner at 11:48 at night who's sleeping on the couch and you can see those dishes and you can say, you know what? I'm going to do these really quick because I don't want them to have to do it in the morning, because who wants to wake up to dishes in the fucking morning? Then you know you don't resent your partner. When you have the orientation of, this is annoying, but I want to do this so they don't have to, that's how you know you don't resent your partner. So you need to get there. And if there are reasons that you resent your partner where you're gonna just like look at them mouth breathing and want to put a pillow over their fucking face instead of do the dishes, then you're in resentment city. You have to address it. I don't know why you resent your partner, but you fucking do. So what you can do is write me about why you resent your partner, and we can work through it, or we could do a little session 101 on it. Because if you resent your partner, that is a contagious disease that will poison your partnership. It is really hard to be sexually attracted to someone you resent. It's really hard to do invisible labor if you resent your partner. It is really hard to not like pick fights. If you resent your partner, you're going to pick fights. You're going to look for every little thing they did wrong constantly, and you're going to let them know, hey, you're an idiot. Why are they an idiot? Because you resent them. That's the underlying problem. So if resentment is dealt with within the relationship, and if you get into the underbelly of why you resent each other and really heal that, I think the invisible labor starts to work itself out. I really do. Because you come at it with this sense of like, oh man, I don't want them to do this because this sucks. And then you do this for each other. Oh, I just hit the microphone. But you do this for each other in like a beautiful dance, a beautiful choreography of 11:47 dishes, you know? And sometimes you're the one with the open mouth breathing on the couch, even though I have truly never fallen asleep on the couch unless I took like 45 bong hits. I don't just like randomly fall asleep places. That's a particular person. It ain't me. All right? So deal with the resentment. So I think the other thing about invisible labor, so I heard like invisible labor, this is more like with parenting and stuff. But I don't know, actually, that's going to go into emotional labor. I mean, we could do a whole emotional labor about parenting, but I'm going to stick with like the relationships and parenting and familyness, because I think it'll be like a little more entwined. We can get more specific. If you have specific questions, please send them the motherfuck in. Okay. So you ask. So one thing you do with invisible labor, you ask to be appreciated. You don't expect someone to appreciate you. And you know what? I do this all the time. It's never like felt worse. You know, like if someone noticed I unloaded the dishwasher versus like I told them I did it, I still, their thank you means the same, you know? Like I think we ask each other to be like psychics too much. And even though y'all know I believe in telepathy, I think asking each other to be psychics is where, not sidekicks, by the way, I'm saying psychics. Like Miss Cleo, I don't know if y'all remember Miss Cleo. She was a psychic in the 90s or late 80s, and you would call and pay like $7.99 per minute to talk to her. We are not Miss Cleo, okay? We are not all psychic. So I think it's like better to just be direct about your contribution of the day. And then that other person can appreciate you. And maybe that's something you talk about over dinner. Hey, this is all the stuff I did today. Or maybe you talk about it right before bed. This is all the stuff I did today for the betterment of our family. And then your partner can say the same. And then you can exchange gratitude. And then you'll start to notice if there's like a major inequity. And I think the thing about time exchange, which is difficult, is in a capitalist system, if one person is financially supporting another, they're going to feel like, hey, I already exchanged enough time for you because I'm giving you money. That happens. You know, if someone's doing a lot of the money making time, and then they're like, well, I refuse to do any of the other time because I'm giving you all my time with this money making, that's a negotiation that has to be discussed. Two people have to really talk about that, because I think this is where a lot of partnerships really also go askew. Is if you're making money for your partnership from 9 to 5, but you like your job and you would do it with or without your partner, that's one thing to think about. The other thing is your partner doing the labor of the home from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed? Are they never clocking out? You know, I think that's the thing about the inequity of invisible labor when you have someone that's financially dependent on another, is that you could be just like kind of low-key doing chores all day, every day, your entire life. Like you never get a day off. And is that the same as going to work for like a specific amount of time and getting weekends and getting vacations and getting breaks? It ain't, because you're always doing it, my friends. So if you're like the financial supporter, but you don't think you ever have to contribute to the invisible labor of the household, you're asking your partner to be an indentured servant that's never having a vacation. That's fucked up. That's not cool. That's not good. No, that's gonna like make someone go banana pants. You know, people need breaks. Yeah, people need breaks, especially if you have kids and then you're doing all the things. And also, it's like the redundancy. The redundancy of the invisible labor of keeping a home and house. It's like, holy fuck. Every time I do laundry, I'm like, I cannot believe I have to do this again. You know, my sheets are not clean. Okay, I know there are those of you out there that are changing your sheets every week. I don't understand how that's possible. I'm really not doing that. I mean, I hate to tell you how often I change my sheets. It is not often. Listen, I get into bed clean. I don't get into bed dirty, but there is detritus, there is skin cells all over my sheets that I'm breathing in, that I'm mouth breathing in all night. It's probably causing all sorts of lung infections because I cannot change my sheets that often. Because then I have to change. Are you kidding me? And then you have to do that weird like break dancing to get the sheet back on the bed. Fuck that in the fucking knuckles. Like, I hate changing sheets. I don't do that. You know? So if you got someone changing your sheets every week, are you kidding? You understand how oppressive that is? Holy moly. I don't know. I don't like housework. But I do what I can. All right. So that's the invisible labor thing that I really wanted to say. Emotional labor. What is emotional labor? Emotional labor is when you are asking another person to digest, compost, fertilize, neutralize, process your feelings. And you're doing so in a way that is putting the pressure on them to be the carrier of your emotional outbursts and emotional diarrhea. Let me explain. All right, when you have a child, you have to do a lot of emotional labor with your child, because what you have to do is recognize that when your child is being a little fucking wonka, all right, when you have a wonka happening, you can't just react. I mean, you can, but it's going to become abusive eventually, right? You have to have the emotional intelligence to ask yourself, what is really going on with my child? It's obviously not about the sock, right? If they're freaking out, I want to wear the blue socks. Or you have an older child that's like freaking out about homework, or you have a teenager that's freaking out about whatever teenagers freak out about. Also, at truly anything. The most emotional creature on planet Earth is a teenager. You have to let them wonka, and then you have to not take it personally. Right? You can't just be like, oh, well, now it's about me. Because if a child is doing wonka and then you make it about you, that there's nothing being resolved from an emotional standpoint. So you have to then take a step back and be like, oh, do you think you're upset because you're having some issues with your best friend and you're feeling some mourning about that circumstance? Or maybe you're upset because you're feeling like extra pressure in school, or perhaps you're upset because you're fearing aging and you having a birthday coming up and you don't want to become an adult and you're having a major existential crisis and you're only coming closer to your own mortality and you're facing death for the first time, and that's creating an internal chaos in your mind. Like, kids are complicated emotional creatures, and you can't just think it's about the sock. It might be about death. Hello. So as a parent, and usually this falls on the mother, watch affirmation. I don't even know if y'all hear the watch affirmation, but every time my watch beeps, I think I'm saying something incredibly smart. So usually that falls on the mother to do the emotional labor of figuring out what's really going on with the child in order to help them navigate and negotiate their feelings and work through their feelings. So what emotional labor is, between parent and child is to be expected, because as a parent, you are socializing, conditioning, and programming your child to learn how to deal and process with their feelings. And that is why your nervous system regulation is so important, because when you are regulated, when you can say, my kid is being a wonka wonka, but I have the capacity to breathe slowly and to be rational and to not fall into the trappings of their internal and externalized chaos, then you will be a parent that's helping them navigate their emotions. That is part of parenting, y'all. That is a big part of the process. I would say that's 97% of parenting. The other 3% is making them sandwiches. I mean, I guess cleaning them is a part of it, but you get what I'm saying. It's like the emotional regulation is everything. So when your partner is doing the same thing to you, that is emotional labor. If your partner comes home from work and is in a shit mood, and instead of saying, hey, honey, sweetheart, friend, I had a really rough day, I'm in a very bad mood. If I act out in any way, it has nothing to do with you. I'm just trying to work out my day. Please have some grace, or can we sit and talk about my day, and can I vent to you for 15 minutes, not longer. You don't want to go for a monologue that's longer than 15 minutes. May I please vent to you for 15 minutes in order for me to feel these feelings? Then perhaps I'll take a shower to wash them away and maybe do a little exercise to move them through my body. And then I will have time to be a partner, maybe help out with the house, help out with kids, play a game, have a good time. If you don't do that, and instead you come home from your day and you're just a fucking asshole to everybody, that is emotional labor that you're asking everyone else to do. To A, figure out what's going on with you. B, be empathetic for whatever they don't even know what's going on with you. C, forgive you for your shitty behavior. That is emotional labor. And this is not a gendered thing. Anyone could be doing this, but often women, wives, are the ones that are picking up the pieces of not only their children, but also their husbands if they're in a heterosexual relationship, because men/boys typically are not given the skills of complex emotional processing. And a lot of times, because of socialization, because of patriarchy, because of programming, men are taught to externalize their emotions through the lens of anger. And rather than recognizing the vast kaleidoscope of feelings that they actually have, they just kind of get angry and pissy, right? And that is its own journey. So what ends up happening is you as a partner have to then figure out what is actually going on with your partner when that person is being actively aggressive towards you, which is really hard to have the patience and the emotional bandwidth to do. So, how do we recognize when we're asking our partner? And then this is, I think, the thing about inequity, right? Is a lot of times, if you're someone that asks your partner to do a lot of emotional labor, chances are you're doing it unconsciously. You're not aware that you're doing it. Therefore, you are not offering them that same grace, right? If you were aware enough about asking someone to do emotional labor, chances are you would be aware enough to then be able to be there for your partner in a profound way. If both of these things are unclear to you, that means that your partner, when they're dealing with something and they need some composting from you, you're not able to do it because you can't even do it for yourself. So this is the thing. When you are able to compost and process your own feelings, which means self-reflect to the point that you understand that whatever is happening is not about the actual moment that is happening. Nothing is about what's actually happening. That's what I need y'all to understand. If you're having a conflict with someone and you think it's about the moment, it is not. It is about something deeper. Every single time. Unless someone comes up. No, even if someone comes up and were to punch you in the face or to kick you in the taint, it's because of something deeper. So the process of emotional labor is picking through the debris of whatever emotional chaos is on the surface, the superficial argument, and figuring out what's really going on. For example, someone was telling me about their father, and their father was acting very aggressive towards them and just in starting fights, and the fights were very irrational, and they were being really cruel and pushing them away. And he was like, I don't understand what's going on with my dad or why my dad's doing this. And I'm like, I know exactly why your dad's doing this. Your dad doesn't trust anyone. He has major trust issues. He's getting older. He's so afraid of being vulnerable and being dependent on you as he gets older that he's trying to control the idea of being rejected by you. So he's like, if I reject you first, then you're not going to reject me, and I don't have to feel the utter heartbreak of having been an abusive dad, not ever truly apologized or changed, and then be dying and need you and you not show up for me. So this dad is instead rejecting his son instead of being like, oh, hey, I am so sorry for all the ways I've acted in my past. And I know there's a complete irony of the sense that I need you now because I'm getting older and more vulnerable, but I need you. Will you be there for me, even though I was not there for you in the ways you needed as a child? If he was able to do that, hello, that would be profound. But he's not able to do that. He's too afraid. So instead, he's a fucking dick. Do you get what I'm saying? That's a great example of a superficial problem, which is my dad's being an asshole to me and getting into fights about random shit. The real problem is his deep fear around rejection. So when we get into any argument with any person, what is actually happening? I mean, that is for you to uncover with the person, or for you both to get on a Zoom with me and I'll help you uncover it. I don't know. I'm not always right, but most of the times I am. So this is what emotional labor is getting to the root, getting to the deep soil of underneath what the real problem is, the real insecurity, the real issues, the real core wound, because that is why we act out. We don't act out over, superficial stuff. We actually really don't. Like you act out because it's triggering something deep within you, or you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling emotionally tired or weak or whatever the heck is going on with you. That is why we act out. So emotional labor is the process of uncovering what the real problem is. And when your partner is responsible for your emotional composting, then you're putting them in a position to, it's almost like you abuse them because you're going to be in the bad mood until they're like, what's wrong? Well, what do you think is really happening? And then they're going through all the steps for you in order for you to uncover what's actually happening with you. So when we externalize our emotions onto others, we are asking them to do the emotional labor of not only helping us figure out what's actually going on, but forgiving us for being dickbags. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm sorry as a dickbag. But, it's like there were so many things that could have been done before dickbag had to happen. Number one, just recognizing, wow, I am in a horrible mood. It has nothing to do with anyone else that I'm in the company with. And I do think that this is where PMS is a really interesting training ground. And I'm not trying to get into no gender war, okay? I am not. I am not in a gender war. I am in a gender blender of acceptance, love, and complexity, okay? But I do think that PMS is a really interesting training ground, because what PMS does is it provides a person with an immense amount of irritation, hormonal irritation, right? And then you, as the person who's experiencing the hormonal irritation, have to make a choice. Do I take this out on others, or do I contemplate what's really going on? And is this PMS actually an indicator or magnifying glass of a greater problem in my life that I'm burying? Like, that's what I think PMS sometimes is. It's like a little magnifying glass. Like, see this thing that you pretend isn't a problem? Well, it's a problem, bitch. It's a fucking problem. So I do think PMS is a superpower because it helps you realize things in your life that actually are very detrimental or problematic that must be addressed. But the other reason why I think PMS is a vibe is sometimes I feel the PMS in my body. It feels hot. It feels like a burning rage. And I know no one's doing anything. I'm aware. And I have to sit with the complexity of a burning rage inside of me where I want to just I want to cause damage to others because I have this burning rage, but I know it's PMS. And then I can say to myself, Tony, no one's doing anything wrong. And you have to just breathe through this burning rage until it subsides and not take it out on people. And that training ground is really important because that does help me regulate my nervous system when I'm in circumstances where I don't want to take out my emotions on other people to a point where I'm being emotionally abusive by just being reckless. I don't want to be reckless with feelings and just talk shit because I'm being emotionally lazy, you know? And I think that PMS has really helped me just breathe and like take a moment and ask myself, is this person really the problem, or am I just feeling an internal storm that will pass? And sometimes I have to say, hey, I'm going through internal storm. I'm going to go remove myself and just like go be alone for a little bit. Other times I just am quiet, living in an internal storm. And people are like, what's up with you? And I'm like, oh, I'm just thinking about stabbing you in the face, but I'm not going to because it's hormones. It's nothing to do with you. So you're good. You know, you're safe. So this is all the journey of emotional labor, and you're not going to get better at emotional labor if you do not practice. And the way you practice is being able to feel a storm of brewing inside of you. Like that movie. I don't remember that movie with the fisherman where there was a big storm. I think Marky Mark was in it. He had a Boston accent. Someone from a guy who's from Boston, his Boston accent sounds so fake. He's like, I parked my cat. I mean, I hate that people always say that with the Boston accent. It's like the thing they always say. But for real, like, dude, bro, I feel like Boston people are always saying sun. Yeah, they're always talking about sun. And Boston accents are different for everyone. They're not all the same. Anyway, long story long, there was a movie with Marky Mark. He played some fishermen. I don't even know why I'm talking about fishermen. Because I'm saying there's a storm inside of you. Oh, this is the other thing that we have to recognize about ourselves. It's that if you're a moody person and you're asking other people to experience every mood you feel, that is asking them to do a lot of emotional labor. Because you're moody and your moods are shifting all the time. So as a moody person, and this isn't about masking, by the way. Masking, I think, is hiding who you are, right? Emotional regulation is different. Like when you're masking, you're like doing all this like effort and work to just like navigate and negotiate how another person is going to perceive you, right? Masking is exhausting. I know that from personal experience. But emotional regulation is not masking. Because your emotions do not need to be externalized in a way that's toxic for others to be around, even if you're experiencing very strong emotions. You know, like I can experience a very strong emotion of anger and say to somebody, I'm incredibly angry in this moment and I'm going to need space from you because the anger I have at you is overwhelming or towards you is overwhelming. I can say that in that voice and still feel the anger, but I can still be respectful. I don't need to be calling someone names or attacking them physically or, you know, giving stank. You can say that with neutrality and still feel the feeling of anger. And I think that's the journey that we have to be on, is to be able to express the feeling, but with a tone of neutrality. Because the amount of times I hear people talk to each other with this rude ass fucking tone. Rude tone. You know what would be interesting, I think you can do with a partnership? And this isn't for like emotional blackmail. This is just like for personal investigation. Is one day record an argument and listen to how, both of you, listen to how you talk to each other. Are you whiny? Are you accusatory? It's like there is this tone of voice that we use. What are you, it's like this, what are you, dumb? This way that we talk to each other that you could be saying whatever, but you're saying it with such a stank. Yeah, I guess. All right. And that stank, that's not about connecting, and that's not about emotional regulation. If you have a stank on your voice, or you're talking down to someone, or you're talking to someone as if they're the dumbest person in the world if they don't agree with you, that's not going to create connection, and that's not emotional regulation. Even if you're not calling them an asshole with your tongue, you're calling them an asshole with your tone. You're calling them a big dumbaroo with your tone. And then that person has to navigate your tone, and they have to be like, okay, well, their tone sucks, but I guess their words are okay. You know what I'm saying? So long story long is that in a partnership where one person is asking someone to do all the emotional labor, that's going to exhaust the other person, and they're going to become very tired, and their lower back is going to hurt from carrying all that. Their shoulders will hurt. They will get sick. It's exhausting to carry another person's emotions, especially when you have kids, because there is that happening with the kids. That is natural. You're supposed to do it with your children. You're not supposed to do it with your partner. You and your partner are supposed to be able to be modeling mature conversation. And that's what you want your children to see, is mature conflict, mature negotiation. And again, I can't stress this enough. If you know when your heart is closed, those moments where you're just irritated and angry and your heart is closed, that's not a moment to talk. It really isn't. You know what you can do though? You can sit across from that person. You could hold each other's hands if you have it in you. Sometimes you're too angry, but if you have it in you to hold each other's hands and just look at each other for maybe a minute or two, which is a long enough time, you'll start to mellow out, and then you can have the conversation. But when you're in a defense, the thing about offense and defense is that people are so defensive, they're offensive, right? That is not going to be a negotiation. That's going to be a conversation that goes in circles. And there's nothing more boring than a circular conversation. And when you're in it. You've experienced it. It's like it keeps going back and forth. When you're in a circular conversation, you can either take a 5-minute break, go do something else truly for 5 minutes, or try the holding hands, staring each other's eyes for 2 minutes. Set a timer. And yeah, you might feel like a dork in the beginning, but try it. It works. It doesn't not work. It 100% works, because you stare into someone's eyes, you get on the same wavelength, your heart starts beating. That's why the holding hands is nice, because your hearts do start beating at the same time, which again fosters connection. Oh, there's this really beautiful Buddhist saying, or maybe it was just a Buddhist monk who said this. I don't know if this is Buddhist wisdom or just a wise Buddhist monk, but he said that people yell at each other because you feel so far away. Your hearts feel so far away, and that's why you're yelling. They could be right in front of your face and you're yelling at them because their heart feels so far. But when you're feeling really intimate and close to someone, you whisper, right? You whisper at them because they feel so close. So that's always something to recognize. It's when you're feeling that desire to yell at another person, it's because they feel so far away. So just grab their hands and look into their eyes, and have that be a practice within the family. Can you imagine if that was our political negotiations? If Putin and Trump just held hands and looked at each other's eyes before they made decisions? Fuck, man, that would be a totally different world. And this isn't about sexuality. This is about genuine connection. And you can do that with your kids as well. Your kids might resist a little bit because they'll be like Dork City, and nor do they necessarily have the patience to sit there for 2 minutes, but you could do it for 20 seconds with them. You could try. I think you could do it. I would force my kid to do that if we had that level of conflict. Yeah, I think that's really a good way of doing that. Also, always, I think when people have abandonment issues, sometimes it is hard to be let's take a 5-minute break and then return, because they feel abandoned and they can't. So if you have an abandonment issue and you created conflict, and then that person's wow, I really need some space from you, that might really trigger some abandonment stuff with a person, and then they might not want to give you space, and then you get again in the circular conversation that is not going anywhere. That is also emotional labor. So if you're an abandonment person who makes people talk to them and they're asking for space, you got to give them the space. You got to just self-soothe a little bit. You got to get a blankie. You got to suck your thumb. You need to do some self-soothing and give that person that time, because they're trying to come to you with an open heart. And I think we have to respect that. Some people really do need distance. If I'm super mad, I need a minute. I need a minute away from your face and not to look at you. And then I'll kind of calm down, and then I can come at it with more emotional maturity. But I don't like being in circular conversations. A, it's boring. B, it's a waste of energy. C, I'd rather be working. I have a lot of work to do. So, okay, actually, I don't think I can get to the person's question who I really want to get to. So I'm going to leave you again on a cliffhanger. It is a really interesting one. So I'm going to hold that off for next Monday. I will email them and let them know. Okay, are you subscribing to the Patreon? I'm getting into it, y'all. There's really good tiers. Okay, there's a tier where you just like support me for $5, but I truly will pray for you every single night because I have a meditation practice that is daily, every morning and every night, and I do pray for everyone who supports me every single night. And I think my prayers are sick. And then there's like a $13 tier where, oh, I think I give you like my raw dogging comments, like my real spicy, because there's a lot of stuff I don't say. I don't know you. You don't know me. Like, I don't want to get canceled. But if you follow the Patreon, I don't think you're going to cancel me. And I'll tell you everything I think. Don't worry. It's not like grody. I'm not going to say anything inappropriate or offensive unless you're part of the political system. And then I will 100% offend you. So, and if you're part of the political / capitalist, agenda and you're only supporting me for $13, what the fuck? Then there's another tier where we will do somatic sessions every season, and we will do like smoke sessions, like hang sessions, more intimate, like hanging out. And the somatic is like somatic movement. Truly anyone can do it. It's about moving your emotions through the body, and we will do it once a season, right when I clean my sheets. Maybe y'all can help me clean my sheets that day. That would be like a motivation for me to clean my sheets. Everyone can just like haze me until I do it. That would be cool. And then there's a one-on-one hour you can do with me monthly. Oh, also, I forgot, on one of these sessions, you can suggest video ideas. And if I like your idea and I do the video idea, I'll make a collab video with you. And then I'll like push people to you. And I'll say, hey, it was this person's idea to make this video. So that's like a little good marketing thing for you if you have something you're marketing. And so then I do one-on-one sessions, creative coaching, somatic, relationship coaching, whatever you want to do. It's all listed there. And then I have like a mega tier for artistic collaboration where I would really get into the weeds with you about your art, especially if you want to do like marketing, content creation, business coaching to promote yourself on social media. And then we would do some collaborative posts and I would also promote you on my stories, whatever your work is, unless you're doing some work I fundamentally disagree with, unless you're like, I work for ICE. And then I would be like, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work between us. But I would try to convert you. So anyway, there's some really cool tiers and options there on ways to work with me. I think I bring a lot of value to your life because everyone who's friends with me says that. I think I do bring value. And sadly for you, you have to pay me for that. But like capitalism, I don't know. I can't be friends with everyone and I have to make money somehow. So, but I'll be friends with you even if you pay me to be your friend. LOL. But I pay my healer to be my friend. I love her, but I have to pay her every time I see her. But she's my friend. But I do pay her. So I'm in that situation too. Anyway, I love you. Thanks for listening to the pod. Please send your questions, comeinsideofmepodcast@gmail.com. I want to get into some relationship stuff, parenting stuff, whatever. And yeah, both parties are pedos. Okay, bye.